Yep.
Okay. So So we're going to be demonstrating the advantages and disadvantages of a single hull and the advantages and disadvantages of a double hull, which is the big one right here. So how we're going to do this is we're going to set these boats in a tank of water here. This boat in here, and we are going to first try and cause a puncture wound in some other way. So now we cause this puncture in the sides, and it's actually sinking right now. It's sinking pretty quickly. So how it's doing this is we cause puncture, and there's no structuring on the inside to protect it from sinking fast. So the crew is pretty much all doomed on here. And if this actually wasn't cardboard and it was like a metal or wood ship, this would actually just like sink in like 5 minutes. Right now it's going to take a little bit longer. It's probably going to take about 1:52 from previous measurements. So you know, it's already a quarter of the way down in the water. So you know, not to mention the waves are also going to be playing a factor in here, because you're not going to puncture something when it's very clear out and the ocean is all calm, because you're going to be able to see around you. So usually and like as in the case of the Titanic, it was the night and they didn't see the iceberg, so it was pretty easy to crash into something. So you know, Titanic wasn't a double hull, so they didn't really want to implement that because it was kind of cheaply made. So you can see we're already like pretty much halfway down in the water on here, and it's pretty much sunk. Everyone on here would probably be stranded. There wouldn't be enough time for help to get out here. So crew would kind of pretty much be goners. So, and you can see how much water is, you know, already built up in there from just probably 1.5 minutes of sitting in there. So you could already see the disadvantage of that. So yeah, that is the disadvantage to a single hull, which would be that it's pretty light, so it's going to be able to carry a lot more cargo without sinking or tipping. So that's pretty much the only advantage. It's pretty unsafe for everybody. You know, it tips pretty easily because there's not much anything in there to keep it safe. So now we're going to throw our double hull in there, and we are going to set it down in there. Yep, it floats. Okay, it's floating pretty good right now. You can see, toss a bit of little water in there. Yeah, so we got some water in there. It's pretty big puncture on the side. If you want to get in there and show them, you can see right there, that is a pretty wide gash. You can see it's below the water line. So we're gonna let some of the water get in there, and it's still floating. I mean, if you were a sailor on this boat, you probably wouldn't even notice that it would happen, unless you actually like felt the collision. But it's holding up pretty well right now. I would say it's gonna go a lot longer than the single hull. The single hull right here, when it gets punctured by a cannonball, it's gonna sink. It's gonna sink because there's no ribbing in there to keep it from sinking from a major impact like that. Whereas this, you know, they would probably be a little bit thicker of armor because they came up with new alloys like steel around there, which had been around but became more advanced. So this ribbing in here, you can see it's keeping the boat stable. It's not bending much. It's still floating good, even though if we give it a lot of shake here, you have some waves, it's still floating pretty nicely. You know, that ribbing in there is keeping it very stable. You know, if you were in a single hull, before this double hull was invented, if you had a single hull, it would probably, once there was enough water in the hull, it would actually probably collapse because there'd just be so much water, and that's a lot of tension on that metal. So it's been about, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, and this thing is still floating pretty good. So yeah, Davinci, pretty much very great thinker at this time. This technology, very useful for centuries, still use it today. Our Navy, the United States Navy, would probably not be as powerful, and you can probably thank some of the victory in World War II in the Pacific to these strong naval carriers, that being bombarded by Japanese shots and mortar fire and shells from other Japanese ships, and Japan had a pretty strong navy, but this double hull would keep American troops and the ships safe and from blowing up. So you know, Davinci, this technology that he created, this idea, it pretty much boosted almost every country's naval power because it's keeping their ships safer, stronger,